Okay. Well, pinball, of course.
Yes.
There's a few things here. Like, this is one of the, how well you can see that.
Yes.
It's a painting that I got when I was in the UK in 2005. Jean-Baptiste Camille Corot. It's all in French. I must have got this at the Louvre. Yes, I did. Basically, it's an artist, a female artist, and that's one of my characters in the new book. Who's Riel, artist.
I'll be able to see that better when I've got you on full screen, but at the moment I've got my questions here.
Tiny one. And I'm not wondering if you can see that. This is kind of notes on one of the characters. And of the two point of view characters I have going in the book, I've noted they see the world very differently. Now, Riel is an artist. She sees things by colour, texture, light, and she's very spiritual. So these are sort of my little prompt cards. Whereas Tyan, the other character, he's from a sort of post-industrial world. So he's an academic. He sees everything with reason. But he also, when I come to describe things, I try to describe setting by sound and the temperature and the smell. So he's got a very different way of seeing the world. Mm. Oh, yes. Like I said, he's an academic. This is from Trinity College. Fantastic library they had there. So I've got the library there's a library in the story, so I've got this as inspiration as well.
Oh, I love that.
Got another pin board on the side. This is actually torn out of a magazine way back in the mid-90s. I don't know if you remember the fashion styles then when they were all deconstructed, everything was torn and things like that. But again, this is Riel. This is one of the earliest visual sort of references that I grabbed. I'll put that one there. So that's the sort of thing. I don't have any maps yet. It's a very difficult world to have maps for because it's a multiple world scenario. So there are many different worlds and there's nowhere that people necessarily stay very long. Mm-hmm. I think I've figured out a few ways of getting some maps in now, but it's going to take a while for these ideas to develop. In particular, one of the settings that is going to be a big underground city. So it's very three-dimensional. I have no idea how I will map that one, if at all.
So what can you tell us about your new series?
Like I said, multiple world scenario.
Yes.
The thing that's consistent between all the worlds is the way the magic works. Mm-hmm. Magic has often been the core of the ideas that I have. And the way magic works in this particular world is it sort of imbues everything. It's like an atmosphere that people draw from. And how powerful you are as a sorcerer depends on how much reach you have, how far away from yourself you can draw this magic in. So if you're not very strong, you can't reach very far, you can't take much in. But if you're very powerful, you have a really enormous reach. But if the world itself is very depleted in magic, then you'll be a less powerful sorcerer. So if you move to another world that's more powerful, then you can do more. But the problem with that, of course, is if you move to a world that's really weak, you don't have the strength to leave the world again. So you can become trapped. So that was the sort of magical structure that I was working on. There are two characters, one male, one female. And the male character lives in a post-industrial society where magic runs the machines. Whereas the female character lives in a world that's sort of in the dark ages. Magic's forbidden. And so she's got the potential to be a very powerful sorcerer, but if she did anything, if she used magic even a little bit, she'd be dragged away.
And what can you tell us about the plot?
Ooh, not too much at this stage without spoiling things. I'm very cautious about this one because I don't know how much is too much yet. I just know that the post-industrial world with Tyan, the male character, he's an archaeologist. Like archaeologists of a certain age, they didn't hesitate to just take stuff out of tombs and take them on back to the academy. So there's a little bit of that sort of Tomb Raider-y thing going on. And he picks up a book, and the book starts talking to him. Words appear on the page. And it turns out the book actually used to be a person who was transformed into a book. So the book is actually a character. Having great fun reading that one.
I believe you were going to put a lot of craft into this trilogy.
Yes. Yes, creativity has a lot to do with magic in this story. And the best thing about that is that I can go and learn a whole lot of different crafts and creative things, or just interview people who are creative as research. It's the best research of all. Fantastic.
It's a hard life when you get to do what you want to do as part of your job.
Yeah, I have to work it that way. But it's interesting that I was saying to Paul the other day, I realised that the scenes that I've written where I describe a process, I've described the bookbinding process, and I've been describing how to make paint, things like that. And I wondered if that would be a lot of dumping of information on the reader. I was very cautious about not boring people with the details. But I seem to have stumbled on this little thing that works where what I'm showing actually has an emotional aspect to it. So when I'm describing how bookbinding is done, there's a certain sense of horror to it because this woman was turned into a book. So that's sort of the pervading emotional sort of... So the language influences the language and sort of words that I choose. And then when I was describing how to make paint, this person was grinding the paint, and it was her mind was going round in circles at the same time. So I just sort of stumbled upon this, and the one I'm really looking forward to is I'm going to describe oil paint, when she discovers oil paint. And there's a bit of a sort of a romantic thing going on at the same time. It's like there's this tension between her and the artist who I want to take a photograph of. And so she's describing this paint as sort of really, really luscious and sensual, Having great fun doing this. So I discovered that I can describe these things with relevance to the way the feeling and the emotion and the plot as I go. So it's been very good fun.
I'd love to put a bit in to have a like a beautiful hardcover encyclopedia of all of the bookbinding and as an addition to the actual novel.
I probably don't have the time. It's one of those things that I would love to use my artistic skills more. But even I've got computer calendar wallpapers I'm giving away for free on my blog. And those illustrations really are just sketches. I don't have the time to even do them in colour, and I so wish that I could. But yeah, time is, the writing is the priority, and everything else sort of comes in around that.
Well, maybe you could engage somebody else to do that for you.
I'd be jealous though. I'd be really jealous. And it's like, never have an artist employ another artist to do anything because they all want to be really fussy. I'm getting a French artist to do some book plates for me. And this is lovely, but I really am having to hold myself back from saying, can you just make that little line go a little bit more this way? Leave it to her. But,
yes. Oh, well, what other plans for the future do you have cooking?
Oh, I would like to do a collection of short stories and novellas. I have some already, I've got 5 or 6 stories that I could put in the collection. But I have a lot more that I want to write that relate to this series I'm writing now. And there's one story that relates to, it sort of follows on 5 years after the Tardis trilogy. So yes, I know you're going to ask, am I going to write any more in the Kyrelia world? And I'll never say never.
Yes, that is one of the questions I was going to ask. I have a few questions from fans for you. Owen Keegan asked, how do you write your books? Do you go through the stories in order or write them separately and merge them later?